Welcome yet again to another edition of the Gamer Gambit, where a fateful roll of the dice will fill you with awe or indifference. How's it going, Corey?
Indifference indeed. It is going good. How are you doing, Ola?
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, this week I had a light, long gone instrumental, and I need to grab the. But while I am, muddasheep, a light, long gone by muddasheep, Mudda sheep,
Okay.
and this is just an instrumental, and it is a series of about 15. Each one of these notches here is a different song, and this is just kind of like a visual media experience. So I'm going to hit play, and there's a whole bunch of hotkeys built in. And while there's hotkeys to interact with everything, you can also click on the various areas to also interact. So what this author did was make, if I recall in the description, was to make one track a month. So then the author was going for creating, like a full instrumental song and doing it once a month. So this is a combination of all of those songs, and the author put in a visual experience, and you can see that there's little I don't know what they call these synthesizer bars or equalizer waveforms. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, they're more like vector form vectorscopes or something like that.
Yeah, and they'll dance pretty good too with some of the songs that are a little more upbeat or have harder, louder, whatever hitting notes. So, but that's the whole experience with this one. There's 15 songs, so I can skim through a couple of them, and the name of each one of the songs, there's like a little bookshelf here, so you can click on any one of the books in the bookshelf to jump straight to the song, and you can use the arrow keys to skim back and forth, space bar to pause, and there's some hotkeys for adjusting the volume. But that's it. So it's kind of a visual.
So tell me,
visual experience.
Are you able to like mix this yourself and add? Because I see you've got guitar, drums, effects. Like, are you clicking on those to add those sounds?
No, those are done as part of the soundtracks of when they are actually audibly in the as part of the track.
Yeah. So you're seeing them come online, basically. So what's the interactivity that I see?
When you can, they're each their own track. You can actually turn you can turn those tracks off.
Okay. Yeah. So you do have some interactivity with the track itself.
So I mean, you can experience that as you can see the other ones. I'd actually just noticed this now. You can see that the other tracks are actually here. They're just dimmed out, and you can actually tell. It might be harder over stream, but you can actually tell if it's off or on before it comes up. So you can engage, like I mentioned. You can click on here's the third track, and this
Title
is
track, Light Long Gone, right?
In the end.
Yeah, that must be the title track, or is that just the album title that comes up?
Well, it is the title that matches the overall experience.
Yeah.
But it's not the first one.
Right. That's common.
So as far as expanding it, to answer your question, I did not see that was, maybe that's a thing. I'm not sure if you can drop some tracks into a directory and it will drop some tracks and some art or whatever to fill in some of these blanks. Mm-hmm. But in order to do so, the application would have to be reading all of the various tracks of these specific types, and you'd also have to be an instrumental as well. So I'm going to guess that stuff's not there.
So it's just missing some
first track was
is that right?
What's that?
Is it missing some tracks? Is that the thing?
What do you mean missing some tracks?
Like are each one of those pictures a track?
Yes. and they're also, each one of these is a track, but also each one of these dots. So this is the top bar is one giant long playlist, if you will. It's a one giant long bar, so I can click and drag anywhere or click any of these bars, and I'm skipping because all the tracks are like stitched together.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Oh, I see.
So like a play bar in YouTube or whatever else, you can click anywhere you want to play. So this is a one giant long play bar with all of them combined. So if I double click on one of these books, you'll see the top part jumps to that dot
Right.
of where that track starts. And then I got the arrow keys that I can skim. I think it's like 10 or 15 seconds at a time, either direction.
And you're getting like title graphics down below the books as well. Yeah, that.
Oh, I missed that part. Well, that's good. That's why we do this together.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I see that. I see that here.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that the screen changes so infrequently, and your eyes are drawn to this
To just
bottom
other
left that I
parts,
didn't
yeah.
even notice that. And it looks like some of them are animated too.
Right. Right.
That one I just, unless that happened to be
Whereas,
unless that was a star from the background that was shining on top of it or in front of it, maybe. But
well, and I was
yeah,
thinking
maybe
maybe it's kind of a slideshow too. Maybe it switches through different ones. This is actually pretty cool.
But overall, it's
I do see some of the stars.
it's a lot.
moving in the
It's
background.
yeah. I mean, it's a visual experience to listen while you're listening. It's an engaging
Yeah.
experience while you're listening to various
I would totally dig it
tracks from the opera.
if like known artists came out with albums like this, like if they did concept albums that allowed you to experience them interactively like this. I think that would be totally awesome.
Well, if the authors out there listening and watching this, you might have an opportunity to make a type of framework,
There you go.
pluggable framework, where you would be able to, as another artist or a producer of said artist, you would be able to take someone's art, their music, and probably easily convert it into a breakdown format like this. And that would be great for album releases, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not so much singles. If you're releasing a single, it might this might be a little
It's a lot of work.
little too much overhead. But that is a light long gone instrumental by muddasheep.
All right. Well, that's cool. I kind of dig it. All right. So next up, we have Interstellar Errands. There he is. Next up, we have Interstellar Errands. And this is actually also not a video game per se, but rather it's referred to as a fridge RPG, which is to say that it's a one-page RPG that should be super easily digested and put to work, minimal effort, minimal time spent. And in fact, it was submitted to some sort of compendium like Fridge RPG. It was a challenge issued by Itch actually toward the beginning of the year, where they asked people to submit for this challenge, and this was one of the the most popular entry in that list. So again, this is Interstellar Errands, and so the video I have here is actually just like a brief session that just kind of shows how it works, shows how it's played through. So I've got a 7.5 minutes. So in for the long run on this.
So you select one thing your character is really good at. For example, space piloting, shooting blasters, conjuring mystical space energy, that kind of stuff. And then you select a special resource your character has, like a laser sword, royal lineage, sonic multi-tool, blaster rifle. And then you create details about your mentor and why they're important to you.
And those are just examples, right? There can be others as well.
Right, yeah.
Cool. Okay. The next step is to start calculating the mission. And so effectively, you're going to roll a d6 in order to figure out your mission. But each dice you roll is going to provide a different answer. Okay, so let's start, I guess, one by one. Let's do that.
All right. So for the mission, first one is going to be... All right. So your mission is to find a thing your mentor needs for your training. It's some kind of sci-fi. Number 5 is data storage device. We're trying to find a data storage device. And then we'll find it on a planet with towering cities. Okay. Alright, and then the obstacle we're going to have to overcome is Galactic Empire soldiers.
So your roll, each die roll
So,
is
yeah,
selecting you
we're
something.
infiltrating now.
Picking off of a
That's what we're
list.
doing.
Yeah, so they have provided a list of
so we
items,
sit
so each
down,
roll
the adventure.
selects from a
We're on
menu,
to the adventure.
basically.
Perfect.
Okay.
We sit down with a meal or a snack, take out a d20 and set it to 1.
We already ate the meal and the snack, so we're on to the next phase.
So we set the d20 to 1. You need to progress it to 20 to complete the adventure. Take turns doing the following. Roll a d6 to determine the outcome, then describe how the events played out leading to that outcome.
And then for
So
each
you
item
gotta
then that
reach
you
20.
roll on the final
We
menu,
roll the d6 to see what the outcome is, and then we describe how that outcome came to be.
right, and it also gives you a
So I
certain
got
number of
4,
points,
so it
or
says
subtracts
you
points.
advance with the
So
help
that's kind of
an
how you
ally
advance.
or a teammate, and we add 3 points. So on the d20, we're now up to 4.
So his first roll got him 3 points toward that 20.
And the way this happened was I went to, I had to, let's see. I was given this mission by my mentor, and I had to go to my 2 friends here to recruit them for this mission. And with their skills, they were able to help me advance along in the infiltration. All right, now the next person goes.
And that's the key, is that you have to explain it in a way that fits the objective, right?
Right.
So did you just print this out and provide them like minimal instruction? Or did
None,
you...
in fact. I printed it out, set it in front of him. I said, we're going to do this
What's the
thing.
story?
Here's what we need. A D6 and a D20.
We move
And then recorder on?
slowly because
Exactly.
We keep on facing
That's awesome.
obstacles. Proudly. I don't get this game.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move on to the next one, see if it gets clearer.
5. All right, so you use your unique skill in a brilliant way, and we add 4. So we're at 9. What did you do?
Okay. So, here we go. So, my unique skill is psychic powers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just making this stuff up off the cuff, right? Like literally
Face.
in the moment. Because you don't know what you're going to roll and what it's going to demand of you in that time.
And I have to find out a riddle about their past lives.
Uh-oh. Audio cut out right at the beginning of that. I hear it now.
So I do
Okay,
that.
yeah, I hear it.
All right, so I use my unique skill in a brilliant way. So my skill is I am able to build things from scrap. So what I do is, after you have distracted these guards by telling them about their lives, I am able to take some of their weaponry and their things on them and build a flash grenade, so that I can blind all the guards for a second, so that we can escape and get to our next section of the tower.
So he
6,
blinded
all right.
them, stunned
So
them, as it
you
were.
use your unique resource in a brilliant way.
And then this
whatever
guy.
weapon or material you have.
Shot the guards with blaster.
Okay.
As you might imagine.
That's my resource.
Well, I have a gun.
4. All right. So you advance with the help of an ally or a teammate.
So there's the sheet. You can see kind of the menus on there. and the categories at the end where you add or subtract numbers to your 20 to see whether or not you are successful.
Okay, and then you get points toward the 20 you need to win.
Exactly.
Did that say 20?
Yeah, it's out of 20. So you're adding 4, subtracting 3, add 5, whatever, you know. They had a pretty easy run,
Oh.
so it was all addition. They didn't do any subtraction on this particular run.
Through the door.
So this video constitutes
So
almost a real-time version of this
you
game,
use
which was,
something
8.5
like
minutes
with your power
max.
to try to get down the door.
Okay. 6, and I've used my resource in a brilliant way. So I used my once we got down, before we were able to enter the place where this data storage were, there was this big steel door, and I had to use my lighter to open a hole in the door.
You used a lighter, like a big lighter?
No. Well, I don't remember what they're called, but they're those things where you know what
Some
I'm
sort of torch?
Yeah, torch.
Okay.
Torch. So I torch
Pocket plasma
the door,
torch, you know.
and we take down the door before I am able to get inside. And we
That was 20.
successfully got the data storage device for our mentor.
You hit 20?
Yeah. We hit 20.
Nice. Well done.
So it's quick, but
It
it's
is quick. But it's different every time, right?
yeah, right. That's fun.
Now, Balthazar, he has a little more experience, right? Because involved in the plane shift stuff.
Right. He's running these games, and he's been in a bunch of games himself. So yeah, he certainly has experience with this, but he hasn't done any sci-fi stuff, which this, being Interstellar Errands, is certainly more slanted toward that. And it's
Right.
also different when it's just off the cuff, like come up with story elements off the cuff that work with other people sitting at the table, for which you have no idea what they're going to do, and they may with you or they may not. So I actually enjoyed it more than they did. Well, I don't know. My oldest thought it was actually pretty fun. The younger ones, I think, struggled a little bit with like getting into a story without a whole lot of seed elements and being able to extrapolate on that, right? Being able, you said a sentence, now I'm going to add a sentence, that kind of thing. But I think that's something that comes with practice. And so I think actually, like as a skill, this would be a great skill to practice for a lot of people, anybody that wants to speak or tell stories or anything like that.
Right. I mean, you could use this as a fundamental skill for lots of things. You could argue even a debate,
That's right.
right? Debating somebody can draw on being able to connect various dots, maybe more abstractly, and then draw concrete inference or statements.
Yeah. So
More real time, right?
that's
maybe
exactly
more-
right. Yeah. Being able to do that in the moment. And I really enjoy these. I refer to them as one-page RPGs, but I like them. I like the idea of them because it's minimal detail, and it just kind of leaves a lot up to the players to decide what they want it to look like and how that, this one didn't require anybody to lead it. So literally everybody has an equal footing, an equal part in the story, and it can go any number of ways. So it could be really silly or it could be really serious. It just depends on how everybody feels in that moment. So I think those
and
are a
it
lot of
doesn't
fun.
seem like it's really, or it's like it's not hyper opinionated. So to me, that would lower the bar for audience inclusion when it comes to age. Is that a fair statement?
When it
Like, what would
comes
be
to-
the minimum age?
age.
What
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah. And I
yeah,
had
what would be the minimum age you would think somebody could come in and just plop down and maybe try to play in a rudimentary way?
Yeah, my youngest there is 9, and so I think he didn't quite understand like how to jump in on the story as well. So I would say that 8 or 9 is probably minimal on that. But it's kind of weird because if you back up and put it on a 5 to 7-year-old, some part of me thinks that they'd actually do really well with it, right? Like, here's an open-ended story.
Yeah,
What would you say? And then they are just like, for an hour.
They have no problems filling in those
Right,
gaps,
right.
like at all.
So I
Even
think
if it makes no sense,
there's probably gaps like
they'll still
where,
fill it in.
yeah, where maybe you are times of your life where maybe you're less confident, or times of your life where I don't know, your mind is in a different place. But certainly when you're really young, story making seems to come very easy.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. Just not even an hour or two ago, I was downstairs with three different Barbie dolls, and the adventure that I went on was just quite amazing.
Yeah,
And we jumped all over the place like a dream in the span of like 5 or 10 minutes,
right.
and it was all ad hoc, and it was from a 6-year-old.
So you
So
just did a one-page RPG
yeah, I
right there.
mean, oh, well, that exactly that was the experience that I just had that was going through my head when I was watching that. I'm just like, the instructions seem to be so simplistic
Yeah,
that really, because they're not overly opinionated or they're not very long,
right,
that it would be able to include those sections of the audience because they don't have to remember too many of the mechanics, and it
right.
leads the rest of it to be able to be filled in with their imagination and still be kind of loosely in the ballpark or imaginative or matching, I guess, where where the story or narrative is going, that they can play along
Yeah,
with.
the
Yeah,
idea is they're picking up cues
that's
from the people
interesting.
around them. Yeah. And we should step back for just a minute. What sort of rating did you give your piece?
Well, since we did not have a full scale, on music, for me, I have a particular set of tastes and instrumental, like really good instrumentals. It wasn't my flavor, but I also did not see anything that struck out or stuck out as being awful,
Mhm.
like bad beats, or it wasn't
Wasn't
synced
poorly
properly
done.
between the tracks and time.
Yeah.
Right. So the beats where there were transitions and other stuff in the song, there was nothing that was just like, whoa, a sudden silence, and then it kicked off into something totally not matching the rest of the song. Um, so I mean, so the music I think was fine. It was acceptable. So the overall music would be a one, in the category.
Okay.
Um, Maybe if there was a category for presentation,
Hmm.
which would be hard to do in any other categories that aren't visual per se, but I would give it a one in the style or presentation, because this was unique in the sense that I had
Right.
never experienced something like this before, and it was a nice scene. It was well done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I guess maybe shoot for maybe somewhere a 3 out of 5. I don't know what the
That's what I
rest
was
of the
thinking. So,
categories were, but
yeah, you have kind of a gut feeling for where it would sit, even though we don't know all those categories yet. So that kind of makes sense.
yeah, I think your 3 or 4 out of 5 would be very easy for
Okay.
this to fit into.
So Interstellar was also, I brought that up because Interstellar was also a different scoring system that we normally use. So still out of 5, right? But I sort of lumped this under instructional more than anything else. It's a game, but it's actually an instruction to help you run your own game. So I gave it a 4 out of 5, and the points that I gave it on, I gave it a point for writing, just because I thought the writing was well done. It was or not legible, of course. It was appropriate, right? It was, from an editorial standpoint, it was good. It was engaging in that I thought it was kind of, to the points you said, it was easy for you to hold on to these instructions, easy for you to interpret them, and you didn't have to keep rereading them to know what to do, right? So that was good.
Right, you didn't have to reference them a lot.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And then the organization I thought was excellent, actually, because of the way they built tables that you could refer to. So even if you did have to refer to it, you quickly look at the table to see what the value was, and you're done, right? There was nothing to it. And then the mechanics itself, like the basis of the D6 lookup table and a D20 for your scoring system, for your accomplishment. I thought that was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. It may be based on something that I'm just not familiar with, but if not, it's really innovative on such a simple system too. And then the one I did not give it a point for was The last category was empowering or the quality of instruction. And the only reason I didn't give a point on that is because I think it would have helped a little bit if I had either, if it came with, right? The instructions don't have to have this, but if it came with a sample of someone else running it, like a good example, or maybe more sample statements or questions or things like that to help people frame it up a little bit. And I especially like if I had handed this to a group of kids and said, you guys have fun. They might have had fun, but it might have been helpful if one of them could have looked through it and been like, oh, I get it like this. Or, you know, if one of them didn't know what a word was, then
Right.
the sample might have helped. So just a minor thing I think would have really put it over the top and give it all 5. But yeah, 4 out of
Well,
5.
if there was a portability category, I guess all instructionals should be pretty portable, but
Yeah.
something you can pretty easily pick up and go as long as you have access to a couple die.
So being that it was on Fridge RPG Jam, it is actually currently under a magnet on our fridge as well. So we thought it says
All right.
replayability, and we knocked it out, like I said, in like 10 minutes for that particular session. And so I think the intention is that you're looking at 10, 15 minutes for these sessions. So it's just kind of fun to jump in on and try out and see what you get.
Well, I would challenge you then to see how the family reacts when just some random weekend breakfast or something, everyone's just walking through the kitchen and you just hold out a pair of dice and you roll one and
Right.
you roll another one and then you just like call it out and hand the dice and just see
That's right.
get everyone to hop in there.
2, 4,
cool.
and 3. What have we got? What's the tail today?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was joshg actually was the creator of that particular. It is currently free, so there's absolutely no reason why anybody can't just run out there and get it off of itch. And we'll have a link in the show notes, so if you can't find it or whatever, then we'll have a link. All right, so that brings us to the point in which we can roll up a new one and see what we get.
Jet Buster.
Jet Buster, okay. What is it?
The 90s style anthropomorphic shmup. I don't think I've ever seen heard the word shmup before.
Right, you've never seen it
Going back to
spelled
the
out.
unusual shmups. No, I haven't. Going against the standard spaceship fare at the time. Story gameplay Jet Buster is a more accessible shoot 'em up compared to the previous Rybanser Fox title, where normal is 100% serious about being normal. Of course, there are always expert mode for those looking for a bigger challenge. So simply pick a character, shoot things, pick up coins or transfer coins into gold for those juicy extra points, and collect gold to unlock more coins.
I mean, it does
7
say
stages.
bullet hell action.
Bullet hell action? Is that what a shmup is?
I guess, I don't know, but that's the tagline on it. 90s anthro bullet hell action.
No. Well, it looks like there's a trailer and everything.
Oh, good. All right. Well, you got something with some meat behind it.
It almost looks like a different form of. It reminds me, just looking at the pictures, I haven't seen the video yet, but it kind of reminds me of Contra or Akari Warrior.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Maybe closer to the
Platformer
latter.
bullet. Yeah. All right.
And then which is kind of just like run forward and gun and get power ups and points.
Right. See how many power ups you can get. Mine quite in the contrast. Mine is referred to as Moss Creeps, Stone Crumbles by Adam Roy. It is said to be a group storytelling and drawing game about gentle change in a forest grove. So we're going to take it down a notch next week on Gamer Game. At least I will. Corey, on the other hand, will be hitting some hard action on his.
Of an action-packed game. Oh, it's a multiplayer RPG.
Oh, good.
Okay.
You can find other people to play with you as well. Mine will, I think, necessarily.
No, I'm talking
require
about yours.
people. Yeah, mine is definitely multiple people. It's not unlike what I did this week, right? The fates know what I can get into.
Well, good deal. And
Yeah, absolutely.
until next week then.
All right. As usual, good game.
Good game.